So, something I wanted to do before I kind of post more on this channel is talk a little bit about me and introduce myself. So, my name is Mathew. I come from basically a background of, I guess, I don't even know what you could call it. I mean, really, at the heart of who I am just a person from a parallel dimension. I know that sounds crazy. But at the end of the day, none of us are real. Right? I'm not real. I'm from a parallel dimension that is not, and it's not like I'm not claiming to time travel or jump. That's not even close to what I mean. I just exist here. And it's not that I'm not from here or anything. This is my ego. This is my personality. This is my person. And it means nothing in terms of who I am. My soul, as far as I know, shares 2 different lives. And me, Mathew, is one of them. And for me, at the end of the day, all of us are just, we're constructs of what we know in the context of what we live in. It's genuinely that simple. It's just, I'm not a real person. I'm a character. Not a made up character. I'm real enough in the sense that, I exist and I'm talking to the camera and I'm talking to you and I'm explaining these things and I'm thinking about these things and I have free will and I'm doing this. I choose to do what I do. Not a lot of people choose. And at the end of the day, this person is not my soul. My soul is this person. And the character is just pieces coming together from all different types of whatever. And sometimes this is where it gets into this idea of parallel universes, if you can even call it that. The idea that a piece of my personality, a piece of my character comes from an energy, an essence of my soul from not this world, not this universe, has influence, but it's still a part of my soul, you see. And that's an important distinction, and I'll talk about why in a second. But it's a part of my soul energetically coming in and channeling, not channeling, because it's not really channeling, that's different, but being me, being who I am, and it's not from my lived experience, if that makes sense. If not, forget I said anything. But for those who understand, hopefully somehow this kind of reaches you in the way that it needs to. And the reason why it's important to be a part of your soul is because the idea of, in the most Christian way to put it, it'd be the idea of Satan or the devil, or kind of like the tree of knowledge, where before the tree of knowledge, we were one with God. We were humans. We were humans, but we were more spiritual. We were more connected to nature and connected to the world, to the Garden of Eden and the animals and God. We could talk to God because we were one with him. It was his creation, but we were together in harmony. But there was not a lot of knowledge. And there was free will, but it wasn't to the extent of knowledge, forbidden knowledge, right? And then we ate from the tree. And it's not like, to me, maybe for you it is, but to me it's not literal. It's just this idea. It's more of a symbol of what has happened with humanity and where we're going. And the symbol of the tree of knowledge, we now have the knowledge, but also the dominion and power, really, because knowledge is power. And of course the famous quote, with great power comes great responsibility, and it's up to us to uphold that responsibility, because we cannot go back. We know what we know, and it's our choice, it's our duty, really, to do with what we know the good for all and the good for God. And I'm not saying that knowledge itself is not of God. I mean, God is knowledge, and God created the tree of knowledge, the fruit of knowledge. Some people call it the fruit of good and evil, because that's when you kind of open this can of worms where it's like, well, you know, knowledge is power, and you can use that power for good or for evil. Because before, we didn't know any better. We were kids, we were children. That's kind of more of what we were, babies. We didn't know anything. But it also, it's not just the tree, the fruit of evil. It's the fruit of good and evil. It's the tree of good and evil. So there's a lot of good that comes with it too. It's not a damning thing. It's something that opened us up. And I think it was just God's way of allowing his creation of humans made in his image to make the choice. And in the story, there's influence of the devil, Satan, right? Lucifer, whatever you want to call it. That energy. At the same time, though, that energy is still celestial. Lucifer is still an angel. But in a lot of ways, humans are higher, or more, they're held in higher regard than angels in a lot of ways. Because, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, if we're gonna get down this rabbit hole, the angels, those are like God's like people, right? But angels don't come down to earth. They don't live the human experience of at least in today's times, taxes and laws and wrong decisions everywhere. Well, and maybe not even wrong, just decisions that have consequences that maybe people know about, maybe they don't. And there's so much trickery. And yeah, the world is a dark place, but it's also a beautiful place. And it depends on where you look and where you put your attention, because that's what grows. Wherever you place your attention and even desire and effort, that's what you grow. Whatever seed you water is the one that grows. The other ones die. And sometimes there are trees or plants or weeds that you don't water, but they still grow on their own. And so, and I say weeds probably is a better way to put it, because weeds are undesirable. They're contrasts. They're undesirable things that exist, and there's not really much you can do about it. But it grows on its own, or other people feed it because of one reason or another, whatever it is. And so my point with this is, there are parts of this world that are not of the soul, And although the devil does have a certain level of power and dominion over the earth, at the end of the day, it is God's creation. At the end of the day, Lucifer is God's creation. And if you look at it through God's eyes, or you live your human life in the way that God, I guess, intends or wants you to, because, and I say God, I don't mean like, I was raised Christian, so that's just what makes sense, but the creator energy, the fatherly energy, a lot of people call him spirit or her or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. The higher power. But for all intents and purposes, I just call it God because that's what makes sense to me. God is like the fatherly creator energy, and Earth is Mother Earth and her own being, especially made of silica, whatever, the things that crystals are made of, and then, get into that. But although there is a lot of dark, and there's a lot of trickery, and there's a lot of just questionable things that don't have a lot of desirable outcomes, run by the devil, this concept of the devil, I should say, more so. Because really, at the end of the day, the spiritual realm is something that we're never going to be able to understand in human terms, and we have to just experience it after life. And that's why it's called afterlife. But when we're here, we're kind of locked. And that's why I still say, me personally, I think that we're still children of God, because when you think about it, like, maybe our soul is older, but for me, I only have 28 years of experience and from this ego, from this body. And then you think about it, well, how old is the forces of evil? How old are the forces of good? How old is knowledge itself? How old is the creator of the universe? Infinite. A lot of the times, or sometimes they're maybe, I don't know, even if there's, see, that's another thing. Time is, well, scientifically, I guess, time is the fourth dimension. And that's why in the fourth dimension there are so many spirits just traveling through time. And it's like, what we know about spirits and ghosts and whatever, it's like there's like a time jump there. And so, you think about it, third dimension is just X, Y, and Z. And then that's where you have, like, you can move through that, but you cannot move through time in the third dimension. In the fourth, you can. And then you get into, like, the idea of spiritually, the fifth dimension being the frequency or the vibration or density, of however you want to word it, of love, of passion, of divine energy. But really, the idea is just, really, it's just everything I said. And so if you want to take parts of the earth, parts that have been introduced by the force that is Satan, this hellish force, this dark force, whether or not it feels good in the moment or has bad consequences down the line, undesirable consequences is a better way to put it, those are pieces of your personality that you can take on. You have a choice to take on those pieces. And so Mathew, me, is just a concept that has been revived from my soul through spirit, through energy, through the Holy Spirit, really is a good way to say that, because everyone has whether or not you've sold your soul or you're into dark magic or whatever, everyone has that Holy Spirit within them that resides in them. And that's why I say everyone's a child of God, because they only know up to what they've lived. So really all you can do is just be aware and conscious of the things that are out there, and use what God has given you, use the gifts that God has given you, or expand on gifts that you want to practice at. I mean, really, if like it goes back to the idea of whatever you put your focus and effort into, that's what grows. And so if you have a skill, whether it's about spirituality or a physical skill or a hobby or whatever you put in that conscious effort into, that's what grows. And so you don't have to be born with these gifts or talents or whatever to be able to be really good at them. And even the people that are born with things and things that come naturally to them, it's not that they don't have to practice at it or whatever. Maybe they have to like put in less effort or whatever, or there's a certain kind of prodigy there that they don't have to do as much effort or work or whatever. But there are other pieces of that where it's like, let's say someone's a really good singer naturally, they've never had lessons, but if they're trying to do something with that, if they're trying to become famous or whatever, maybe they're not good with crowds, or maybe they can't deal with the music industry. I mean, it's a whole nother topic we can get into, but the point is, there are things that you're always going to have to work at. There are always things that you're going to have to work towards. And for me personally, there's not a lot of time in my life that I have dedicated to working through things or putting in effort or practice or things like that. Like, I've kind of always done that mentally, and that's something that's always come naturally to me. But when it comes to like physical effort and, you know, like a good example would just be like working out. I despise working out. I do not like moving my body more than I have to, because it just, to me, it's so much more taxing on my character and my experience. It's hard for me. And some people, that's just like their go-to, like they love it, that's like their therapy. And to me, it just does not feel that way. It feels like something that I have to force myself to do. But it's something that I know that I have to do, not only for my health, but just for my goals and the kind of person that I want to be. So that I have to be someone who takes care of their body and works out and pushes it, and also just learns self-discipline. So whatever it is that you're trying to do, and that's what I'm trying to do now, is I'm putting an effort into YouTube and TikTok and stuff, and I'll do more than that. But like right now, for Mathew, for what I'm doing, I'm putting effort into what I already know, learning from that, growing from that, seeing how it goes from here, and then just doing what I decide to do from there. Like, maybe this expands onto other platforms or whatever, but I need to start somewhere, and I need to be consistent. I need to have determination and self-discipline to keep me going and consistent, because consistency matters too. If you think about putting in effort and stuff, you need to be consistent in order for something to, I guess, maintain its momentum. Momentum's a huge thing in this world, in the way that the universe works. Momentum can really help you, and that's why I like astrology so much, is because that momentum of the planets and the stars, I mean, there's not a lot that you can kind of do to go against that primordial and like they're just eons of experience and life and energy that, it's not, I'm a piece of the earth. I'm not a planet. So who am I to think that I can go against the energies of the basically celestial, to get back to that word, but in space, celestial neighborhood of beings. That's why Jesus is the sun. The sun of the solar system and the sun of humanity. It's not a coincidence that that's a parallel. So I guess that's a really good introduction to like who I am and what I know, and going from there. I mean, there's already a lot that I've tried to hold back in this video because I don't want it to be too long or too. This is supposed to be an introduction video, but it kind of just goes into like all the stuff, and then this is kind of the rhythm I get out all of these concepts and truths and stuff, or maybe not truths, and at the end of the day I might find something out tomorrow that just kind of disproves all of this or changes it all, and then it's like a missing piece, and then the circle of knowledge that you have, what as that grows and it gets bigger, there's more that you don't know. But then also at the same time, like, some of that could just completely vanish with other pieces of knowledge, and it's like at the end of the day you never know anything. And so really, I mean, if you think about it, none of this matters. All of this is meaningless. If that triggers you or whatever, I mean, that's fine. You don't have to watch this, but it's like at the end of the day, like, whatever you're thinking or believing or knowing can change at any moment, at any time. And then you go through a process of cognitive dissonance and figure out your beliefs and whatever, but nothing means anything, to be honest. So it's like, but that's not, to me, it's not cause for not trying anymore, doing nothing. Just like, oh well, if nothing means anything, then I'm not going to do anything, and then that's your choice. That's your total free will. But it's like, what do you want to do? On the other side of that, I mean, everything's polarity. If nothing matters, then what do you want to do? What would you do? Would you live a life that you don't regret? Would you put in effort and focus and consciousness into things that you've always wanted to do? Would you want to make a mark on the world, make a name for yourself? Start a family, whatever. At the end of the day, we have free will in a place that means everything and nothing all at once. Paradoxes are another thing that's just, they're everywhere. Everything's a paradox. So, like I said, that's just a little bit of who I am and what I've learned along the way. And if you like this content, or if you like what I'm saying, or if it's interesting to you and you want more, or especially if you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to go into whatever kind of jumped out at you and make more content about that, or answer questions or whatever. But yeah, I mean, if you like it, just like the video if you would, subscribe. I'm very determined to kind of keep going on this, so if you're a day oneer, let's go. But yeah, just let me know. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and I'll see you another time.